Hey Ethan, I had a bunch of high school students come to me, and we have a thing we call the taster day, and it's I only have a morning session for this, um,
Mhm.
and it just gives the students a little taste of architectural technology. You do the same thing, don't you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, usually my colleague runs it for the architectural technologies, but this time she was in China, so she asked me to run for Taste a Day. So that's I did it this time. So, what about you? Do you run the Taste a Day for your
Yeah,
school?
yeah. I got some different ideas because I used to do it exactly the same as you do. So you tell me what you did for the students, and I'll tell you what I've done this time around.
Okay, this usually my colleague what she did is she let the students to use the the CAD drawings, CAD software, and show the 3Ds and how fantastic the drawing tools are, etc. But this time around, she's in China and she's teaching the students in China. So she asked me to, hey, can you help me to take care of these students? But she said, okay, you just do the manual drawing. So I got a drawing board set up. After I set up all the drawing boards, and initially there should be 12 students should count, but it was raining cats and dogs, so only 9 students came, which is really I feel like is a fantastic turnout, and I show them how to draw, how to use the skill rules number one, and I also how to hold the pencil, all the minor details, and for example, like oh, if you use the skill rulers, this is 100, 1 is to 10 skills, 1 to 5 skills, and as the drawings become bigger, and how to read the skills rule, and it's not challenging, but they feels like it intimidating. But after they tried 1 or 2 drawings, tiny drawings, and they started to realize, oh, that's very easy. And I told them how to hold a pencil, how to draw a line, how to put dimensions. So after that, they were very happy, and some students started to ask me, well, can they enroll the course? And I saw one outstanding student because he told me he used to do a graphic design at the schools or something like that. So he was it's supposed to be I handed in them for 4 week worth of task. So there are 4 assignments for each week. That's what my colleague planned. But that student is quite fast. He is very productive, and he even finished for week 4 of drawing, which includes all the 2 point perspective. And he was able to do projections and draw it within one session. So oh, you are really good. And yeah, the only things I'm worried about them is for architectures or architectural technology is different from graphic, one which requires to learn all the buildings code and all the materials and other knowledge as well. Otherwise, your materials won't work. So I remind them in the test day. So if you come here, you will learn how to draw the drafting. That's fine, but you also need to know that the building code and etc. So you need to be patient about that. So that was my test day on the last during last month. And what about you?
So did you have them for the entire day or just for the
Uh,
morning?
only only one morning. Only one morning.
Yeah. So I used to do exactly the same as you, and I'd set up the CAD software, and we'd do we do an hour on CAD, and then we do an hour on the drawing board, and I've got a slideshow where I talk about the career path that you can do. Um, but this year, it caught me on the hop a wee bit, and I wasn't quite prepared with all the drawing boards and stuff, and I didn't want to get all the computers out I was originally going to have 10 students, so I thought, I don't know if you know the marketing expression, don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle. Have
Yeah,
you heard
yeah,
that expression?
yeah. I have.
So,
Mhm.
so I thought maybe I'll try something different this time because I've always done it your way, to hear some drawing and talk about, the techniques of the course and all that kind of stuff. So what I did was I had a slideshow this time, talked about,
Mhm.
the career path and what you can do, and the sort of things that we learn. We learn detailing, and we learn drawing, and we learn about history, and I had great pictures for everything that we covered. And then I said, here's some of the work that I've done. And there was so I brought up Jeremy Levine's Hawk and Mesa, his house in the country, in the desert. And oh wow, look at this. This is the sort of work you do if you do our course. This is the sort of work you can work on. And then I
Uh-huh.
brought up some drawings I'd done with Pete Bosley, some really cool buildings I'd done with Pete Bosley, and this is the kind of work we do. And we talked about that for a bit. And then I had a van arranged, and I'd arranged a site visit to Landmark Homes.
Uh-huh.
And we went to Landmark Homes. It was a beautiful house, beautiful carpet, beautiful furniture. It's all staged, and the roof is nice, and it's got skylights, and the rooms are big, and the students were totally blown away by seeing the work of a high quality designer.
Uh-huh.
Because it's not very often we get a chance to take our students out and see something. So I thought what I'll do is I'll try selling the idea of what we do, why we do it. We don't do architectural technology because we love to read building codes. We do it because we love to build buildings, and all that other stuff is just something we have to get through in order to put our buildings up. Well, that's the way I think of it anyway. So we'll see what happens, but it was funny. Something come up which we should talk about in another topic, and that is, will AI kill architecture? Because the student said to me that her parents advised her not to do architecture because AI is going to take over and architects will be out of a job. And I think that's a great topic for
Yeah,
another another
but
podcast.
that
We've got
was
to,
quite quite common comments in our YouTube
yeah.
sessions. Also, people are a bit worried about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I just thought it would be interesting to think. So now that I've explained what I did, what do you think? Do you think it might work?
Yeah, that's quite a cool idea as well because you also we call it in the marketing we also call it A/B testing. So you test with a
Hmm.
picture and look at the audience and you test with B pictures and you test the audience that because that's what we do in the web when we design a website and we do and we can measure the metrics how the mouse is moving, etc. So because I do a little bit of computing and website, so that's how we do it. So same thing like you do try with this traditional way of showing the drawings and that or another way of doing that and we can measure the how to make performance. uh, so let's see
We'll
how it
see.
happens. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, the really
it's
the
interesting.
hardest thing for us to compete against, and maybe we
Mhm.
should talk about this on a podcast as to whether we should get students to come to the Polytech or go to university. But one of the things that's so hard for us to compete against with the university is university life. The heavy
Mhm.
drinking, the partying all the time.
Mhm.
Um, what we really want students who are here to learn, here to
Yeah.
study, and here to get through in 2 years. So yeah, but that's another podcast, really, isn't it? I just thought it'd be interesting to see what you did and to see what I did. Um, we spent quite a lot of time looking at different projects that I'd worked on,
Yeah.
and I don't know whether they just thought I was, you know, full of myself. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what they thought.
Yeah.
Some of them I think were interested. There was certainly one guy there that was very interested.
Mhm.
Um, but we'll see because it's a long game, isn't it? We put the idea in the head.
Yeah, it's a long game because, for example, when I look at back my track, because if you want to be a registered architect, the school duration is even longer than normal degree, and after that you got a training, etc. And after you become a registered architect, it takes a long time, So it's a really long journey. So it's not so hopefully they can stay and they have patience. Sometimes I
Mm.
notice that their attention span is too short for some. Most of the time, I noticed that architectural technology students, they came and they're really interested. They put everything in for the drawing, drawing subject, drawing codes, drawing one, drawing two, but they don't want to pay attention to building code and materials and services, that part. So it's not about what, they can reject which
The,
codes and they
that's
can
one of
they
the
want.
reasons why I didn't want to mention too much about the building code when I've got them for a
Yeah,
taste today. I want them to see the fun stuff we do, not
yeah,
the nitty gritty stuff that we spend so much time doing. I, the reality is that your design is worth 10% of your fee. You know,
yeah.
that fun bit,
Mhm,
the concept
mhm,
design, that's worth about 10% of the fee. But it's the bit why we get into it. But
mhm.
we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah. All right.
Well, thanks, Ethan. Oh, it's a couple of ideas
Okay.
for our next podcast. So stay
Yeah,
tuned,
just let the
everybody.
audience know then again before we leave. Is it a good idea of what we're gonna talk about next week?
Next week we're going to talk about university or polytech, which we encourage the students to do.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for everyone. Thanks you, Jonathan, and see you next week.
Yeah, if you're listening, don't forget to keep listening. Next week's going to be interesting.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.